And now let me introduce to you our speaker, Ron Frost. He decided to travel all the way down here in the middle of a storm this morning. So thank you for that. So he is an author, a speaker, a life coach, and a sales coach. And he's also a licensed spiritual practitioner that studied under Reverend Shell here at the Center of Spiritual Living, Cape Coral. However, he's now based out of a Center of Spiritual Living in Sarasota. Ron's popular book, Getting Unstuck, The 9 Keys to Creating More Prosperity, Fulfillment, and Joy, is a practical self-coaching guide to help the reader live a more self-aware and empowered life. He and his book have been featured on numerous podcasts, as well as AM and FM radio talk shows across the nation. He is the founder of Positive Momentum Coaching, a leader of the Southwest Florida Speakers Toastmasters Club, and a former member of our own center's Leadership Council. Ron's biggest love is his family, which comprises of his beautiful wife, Fawny, right over there, 2 amazing daughters, Nicole and Ashley, and 3 dogs and 2 cats. And while his amazing family may seem like your regular, everyday, ordinary family, the real and never disclosed truth is that each evening between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m., they pose as superheroes and secretly slip into red spandex jumpsuits to fight crime throughout the galaxy, and while undergoing the code name, The Incredibles. Didn't know if you knew that about him. All right, put your hands together for Ron Frost.
It's not easy getting your cats and dogs into red spandex. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And more importantly, thank you for that beautiful meditation. Wasn't that wonderful?
Yes.
I mean, it took me so deeply, I forgot what the heck I was going to say today. No, but it was beautiful. And I would like, if we could convert that section to an MP3 and share it with everybody, because that truly helps people come into the now. And we know how important it is as something that, quite frankly, life doesn't always bring us there. It's something that we need to be intentional about. And especially when you have moments like this, where you have suddenly something comes up and it's a tornado, or tornadoes as I guess experienced. I got 2 calls on the way down here. One was my mom and one was Pam Lambert. And my mom was, of course, telling me that she's not going to be able to make it today because of everything that's going on. And Pam Lambert saying, kind of like, do you still want to do this type of thing? And I was, part of, I guess, being somewhat self-aware is I've always been somewhat internally guided, because I know life is going to throw things at you. There's going to be curveballs. There's going to be things and events, and they put us into fear. And by right, there's certain things that we do need to be safe about. And it's true that if you feel wrong, it's up to you as an individual to say, no, it's not for me. I feel safe. I'd rather be at home. But if something's telling you, it's like, no, it's okay. Just keep driving. Just keep going. And especially if your wife has her foot on the gas pedal and you really have no choice, everything is an individual thing. And that's the truth about life. We're individuals' expressions of the divine. But what being in the now allows us to do is to be able to completely be in touch with the fullness of life and meet it at the moment of where the wonder and the joy and the feeling of the divine and the source is with us. And in that, we know we're safe. We're always safe. We've always been, and we always will. And we talk about this thing about now. It's been a popular thing that you hear when you tune into Oprah and she's got the next speaker on, or being in the now. It's kind of cliche. But why is it important? And then how do we do it? I always like to come from the why. Why is this important, and how do we do it? Well, the why basically is for the presence. It's what we all learn from our many spiritual practices. And when we're in the now, truly in the very present moment, we feel the essence of the divine. We feel the essence of our true self. We have that quietness and surety of mind, and we know that it's all good. We're divinely guided. We're tapped into our intuitive self. Quite often you'll hear people say, how do I work? How do I develop my intuition? What classes do I need to take, and what do I need to do? And the truth is, it's always there. It's that silent symphony, the most beautiful song, subtly in the background, while our mind is focusing on the two guys with a jackhammer in the front of our window, right? It's the moment we unplug, whatever we unplug from the TV, from social media, from fear, from anything that allows us to truly blossom in the now moment. Being in the now moment is where the essence of life truly is. So to do that, it requires, I would say, certain things that we need to necessarily apply into our life. And before I go there and share with you what I would say is my 3 secrets of being in the now, let's hear a little bit about what some of our spiritual gurus and masters and authors, and I've got a few quotes I'm going to read. If I can open my piece of paper. Buddha shares, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." So true. Eckhart Tolle, the father of now, father of the Now movement, authors of many books, including The Power of Now. If you were conscious, that is to say, totally present in the now, all negativity would dissolve almost instantly. It could not survive in your presence. And quite often that's what it is. We've got the past is coming up, the things that have defined us, the beliefs that we've inherited, the thoughts that are there, that when we're in the present moment, anything that is of a negative nature can't be there. It just can't match the vibration of that moment that we're in. The point of power is always in the present moment. Who said that one? Louise Hay. The point of power is always in the present moment. One of my favorite authors, Wayne Dyer, and there's just a lot of great quotes from him, but this one I really enjoy. It's a great hallmark of mental wellness. A great hallmark of mental wellness is the ability to be present in the moment fully and with no thoughts of being elsewhere. No thoughts of being in the past, no thoughts of being in the future. No thoughts of even focusing on some of the other dramas and activities and distractions in our life either, being fully present. Lao Tzu, a 6th century Chinese philosopher, said, "If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living at the present." And I got a couple of funny ones too. Procrastinate in the now moment. Why put it off till tomorrow? Or, today I will live in the moment, unless that moment becomes unpleasant, in which case I will take a nap. So we know there are things that pop up in life. And of course, the things that allow us to try our essence to bring ourselves back to center, I find are basically 3 basic concepts that I've learned that I want to share with you, which is, number 1, be intentional. Be intentional about anything that you really, truly want in life, and that's even mindfulness. That's even being in the now. That's being fully present. Be intentional. Be aware. Be self-aware. And the last one is, if the other two don't work, just surrender. And surrender into the bliss, into the divine that knows it's always got your back and everything's always good. So in being intentional, I find that, as I teach a lot of business owners and a lot of salespeople and all this energy about setting goals and doing this, quite frankly, I still find the be intentional is something that is true even for our own spirituality. True? I even go to the point of, have an intentional activity. Schedule it in your day. As silly as that may sound, having some sort of spiritual activity, even if it's just sitting and doing nothing. Even meditation. I don't know how many people meditate every day. If you do. For me, when I first heard of that, it's like, sit and do nothing, close my eyes and just breathe. I'm too busy for that. I've got things to do. But yet, it's important. We are responsible of our own vibrational set point. Because as life stirs up tornadoes or anything else that can set us astray, is our spiritual practice that we have routinely within our life that keeps us in that vibration that we choose to have. The past vibrations tend to be ones of blame, shame, guilt. Guilt, I didn't do what I thought I was going to do. Blame, blaming the other. Shaming ourselves. These are lower vibrational energies. And if we release those by bringing ourselves into the present moment and having a practice around being in the present moment and be deliberate about that, we essentially affect our vibrational set point that allows us to, not only in that moment, but in all moments, start to see life as a living miracle. So what are our basic, well, it's up to you, whatever works for you. Some people have a hard time with meditation. Sometimes just sitting and being silent. For me, I like to go to nature. And one of the practices I love just doing with any form of nature, whether it's your cat or whether it's a flower, just sit there, look at the cat and say thank you. Say thank you to nature. Say thank you to the wonder. Say thank you to the flower, to the tree, and just be present with it. Try that. Thank you is gratitude, and we have the energy of gratitude in us. It brings us into that present moment. And when we have the visual aspect of the flower, of nature, we sink deeply into that moment. And if you spend just 10, 15 minutes in that stillness, thanking nature, thanking life and all forms of life, the miracle starts to become you. But it takes that practice. So intentionality, much like when I'm coaching people, block it out on your calendar. I'm going to say block it out on your calendar. It's true that sometimes life gets so busy that we just put off the things that are most important. And spiritual practice is really one of them. Another one that I've done, and people have shared with me, is just the experience of grounding. Go barefoot. As you're sitting there blessing nature, take your shoes off, let your feet touch the ground. Yoga. Noticing what you're noticing your breath, being one with your breath. Journaling, but find a practice that works for you. Find a practice that allows you to sit in a silence. Even reading some of the spiritual books found in our library. Even taking classes. Anything that you know that will intentionally raise your vibration is very much going to help you be in the present, be more aware. So that's the first thing I always say is, we're responsible for a vibrational set point, each of us individually, because if we really want to change the world that's out there, many of us sometimes, things come up on TV, things come up and we're like, they irk us, right? But what's happening inside of us is just the feeling relative to what we're seeing on TV. If we're in our living room experiencing something on TV, which is somewhere else on this planet, it's not in our living room, the feelings that are coming up on us relative to whatever it is, or whoever it is really the experience that we're having. Our biggest contribution to humanity is our vibration. As an individual aspect of the divine matrix of humanity, that vibration that we hold makes a difference in all. Imagine if we got everybody to shut their TV off for a week and just sit in nature. We would probably purify the air and the water on this planet, and we create abundance beyond any we create heaven on earth just by doing that. As I've said, it's really never been about who's in the White House. It's what's going on in our house. And that's the only place that we can be. And being in a now moment, really being fully in the present moment, and feeling the aspects of joy and bliss and gratitude. Well, that intentional helps us to be better beings on this planet. The second one is awareness. And awareness is being aware that we are aware. Being aware that we are conscious beings. Being aware of our thoughts, but yet not having judgment on those thoughts. So we may have thoughts of the past, and we may have even anxious thoughts of the future, and they may be surfacing throughout our day. But being aware of them, because the moment we can create change and allow us to come back to the present, is first we have to know what's going on. But second, we don't want to have to shame the thought or ourself for having it, because that just brings us into a lower vibration. So being aware of where we are with our thoughts. Science says we have something between 40 to 50,000 thoughts per day, and many of them are recycled patterns that don't necessarily serve us. But the more that we can tune in to be aware of that, the greater degree that we can have an effect of change that will benefit us, benefiting not only us, but our community around us in the greater world. So sometimes, too, when in our level of awareness, it's that awareness of just life itself. It's awareness of the subtleties, the beautiful, beautiful subtleties of like the most amazing song I heard, right? That Colette played. A wonderful version of a wonderful world is what I would call that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you were sitting in the chairs, as I was, just feeling that moment, feeling that song, and as you see the musician into the music, she's into that now moment. That's where you see the artist. We had all forms of art. Everything is, in a way, a form of art. It's just knowing that you are the artist. Even the accountant or the bookkeeper, that is art. Because if that's the desire and that's the flow that's coming through this, that's their nature of service, that is the joy, and that can be the moment. It is basically how we look at life. Do we resist it? Do we feel it is not serving us, or do we feel the joy of it? Our culture has put us in the point of either being motivated by two things, the fear of loss or desire of gain, right? So we're somewhere in this direction or that direction, and not in the now moment. To the swimmer who swims, does the swimmer swim because the swimmer has the fear of drowning if they stop swimming? Or is there a destination the other end of the pool? Or when I was a kid up in Maine, we used to swim to this island called Blueberry Island. So it was like a mile. It was like our goal to get there. But we're always goal seekers. That's part of our culture. Yet to the swimmer, in the analogy of water, what if it's just the joy of the water? The joy of the movement in the water? If you think about it, if we find joy in the moments of the things that we do, we ultimately achieve the desired outcome of life, one way or another. Whether it's the perfect envisioning of the dreams and the goals and the desires that we've had, or something better. When we're in the present moment, we can't operate from a lack of not being there. We can't be in the should of, our shoulds or our have to do's or our want to. We can let those go. We can play hooky from our shoulds and just allow the present moment in the joyous activities that fulfill the destination of life that which we're living into. Instead of being anxious of the future or wondering out whether it's going to work a certain way or not. So when we're in the how, we're not necessarily in the now. True? Our how is the analytical mind that's always trying to figure out, how am I going to do this? How am I going to figure this out? How is this going to happen? Whereas when we just release and we let go, we just trust and know that the divine that's working through us and as us and for us is always going to have our back. And I remember my daughter when she was really young, and we were coming to the center, and we were, ending all of our prayer like we always end it. And so it is. And so it is, and so it is. The claiming of the truth that we are stating. And I remember our little Ashley one time in prayer, she was like, "It is what it is." And I'm like, "Ashley, so it is." "No, Dad, it is what it is." And yet, when you look at the acceptance, if you can accept, sometimes we are driven to aspire to some sort of level of greatness that may not be innately blossomed, but it may be in the comparison of the world around us, or what we feel that we should do, or the goals and the labels that we aspire to. When in the present moment of who we are and what we are, in this now moment, the is what it is the most beautiful essence. And that life can pass us by if we're constantly on the road of striving and never arriving. So take the moment to be aware, to see the beauty, to fall in love with it, to know that life is already perfect. And in that perfection of life, the everlasting blossoming of the new is always happening, This now moment and any future now moment is always beautiful. Sometimes nature kind of throws us into that state. We have things that happen to us that are what I call peak moments. The birth of a child. We're in awe. We can't help but be in awe. Things that may suddenly pop up and change us, no matter how driven we may be. Coming from a Western culture, we're quite often so ingrained with having to get things done. And when I traveled to Fani's country years ago, actually, when I helped set up a business in Indonesia, I realized that, we took a sales team out to start to sell the business, to sell the products and start to meet people. And I've always, in the United States, going door to door, quite often, we have different experiences. We could have a door slammed on us. We could have, people that just don't have time. Everybody's always in a rush. And yet, the very first place that we stopped at, they were like, "Well, come on in. Sit down. Would you like coffee? Would you like orange juice?" They brought food out. And I'm sitting there like, we're never going to get to the rest of the places we need to get to. But that's the way they were. And that was true in many of the other countries I went to. You know, where in the US, it was like we're always on the clock. I have a friend that's retired, and he still works as if he's on the clock. Because the years of being in that cycle of always having to do something instead of being, just being. You know, we're human beings, not human doings. So we're always having to feel that we have to do something because life pushes us that way. But we can choose to be aware. So in many cases, a peak moment can bring us back to that center. And years ago, we went snorkeling in the Keys, and it was one of those peak moments where we actually were with a group of other people, and it was in a coral reef. And Fani had asked before we got out of the boat into the water, she asked the captain, she goes, "Are there ever any sharks?" Now, this lady is a manifester. So the moment she says something, she's claiming something to the universe, and of course, there's a whole other story around that. But sure enough, we weren't in there but a few minutes, and there's 10-foot nurse shark. We didn't know nurse sharks only eat coral, and their mouths are only this big, but they still, when they swim under you, they're a beast. If you think walking on water was a miracle, well, try levitating 4 feet above it in a full-out sprint to the boat. Not just Fani, but everybody else. And I was the only one that still had my head underwater, didn't know what was going on. I heard this muffled, "Shark, get out of the water, get out of the water." And it really was that moment when everything just sat still. And it's like, oh my God, here I am, still waddling around in this water, and I'm finally figuring out what they're saying to me. And of course, Fani's like, "Well, get the camera," because it already started floating. There was fins and flippers and everything was all a mess. But anyways, once we got on the boat, it was that moment of stillness, that moment of awe, that moment of here we are safe, we are alive. And you could see the essence of the glistening of the water and the sunlight on Fani's face. You can see the feeling of knowing that, this is life, we're okay. And it just kind of stopped us because we were so busy with our life, running our business, and we just needed that. So sometimes life gives you those peak moments. If all else fails, trust, know, and surrender. Surrender is one of those things that they teach in spiritual practices that allows you to really, truly let go of everything, especially when something feels like it's beyond your control. Dr. Wayne Dyer had a famous quote that says, there's two things in this world that we can worry about. One is those things that we have control over, and one is those things that we have no control over. Well, the things that we have control over, we can do something. But yet the things that we have no control over, why worry about them? So either way, why consume ourselves with worry? We can either take action or we can just let it be. So in the surrendering is this knowing that no matter how perfectly planned you may have made things or wanted things to be in this moment or in any moment or any future moment or any past moment, to surrender into the trusting that all is good. Even when you're frustrated, even when things don't seem like they're going the way you want them to go. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's just life telling you it is time to surrender. A couple years ago, I drove my mom's car she's a snowbird, so I'm always volunteering to drive her car from Connecticut to Florida while she flies. And every trip is always easy. Well, this trip, somewhere in South Carolina, I got a flat tire. And what I didn't realize, it was more than a flat tire, it was a split rim. So not only did I have a flat tire, but I had a rim that I couldn't put another tire on. And I was between one exit and another exit. I mean, there's a huge distance. There's a farm field next to me, and it's getting dark, and my cell phone's not working. Worry thoughts going through my mind? Sure. Am I a spiritual practitioner, and did I try prayer treatment? No. Should I have? Probably. And of course, I've got mom's stuff in the back, and so I'm trying to open it up, pull, and I've got AAA, but again, spotty with the cell phone. And I'm sitting there, trying to figure everything out. There's a little tiny jack. I'm like, well, the little donut, which isn't going to get me far, doesn't have much air in it either. I'm like, so what do I do? And I don't know if it was a surrender, but it was basically the words that came through me was, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. And within a few moments, this truck comes up, and this gentleman comes out of the truck and says, "Can I help you?" What I didn't realize was this guy was what we call a trucker's mechanic. He services tractor trailer trucks when they're broken down. He had every single gadget that you could imagine on his truck. He was picking up a couch for a buddy that was one exit up, and he had to bring it to the next exit, and he passed me. And in the surrendering and accepting and allowing and knowing and seeing this miracle, oh, and by the way, his name was Ron, right? But I just sit there and it's like, am I in a movie? And this is just couldn't have been better. God not only sent me an angel, but sent me an angel with tools. And within a matter of moments, I was back on the road. And it was, to me, what I felt is, hey, I could have started walking away. I could have put that donut on and drove away. I mean, there could have been a number of things. But somehow in the moment of surrender and knowing that the divine has always got your back, good things blossom and they happen for you. And I'm sure many of us have had those experiences as we think about them. So, the three things: be intentional. Bring that practice. If you don't have one, I encourage you to do that. First thing in the morning is for me is the best, because what you put off to the end of the day, we get tired. Sometimes we don't do it. But whatever that is, maybe it's your music. Music brings you into now moment. Like when Fani's singing, she's not only there, but everybody on that dance floor is in that now moment too. So whatever that thing is that brings you in that deeper sense, because life can go back and forth. When we get in that mundane task of every day being on the same hamster wheel of life, we need to short circuit it and be in the now. And try that, going out into nature and thanking a leaf, thanking the sun. And then be aware of our thoughts, aware of our life, aware of the things that we can really, truly allow ourselves to be present with. And surrender into the moment, knowing and trusting, regardless of what may be the way you thought it was going to be. Well, it could be this or something better. And the something better is typically something beyond our human consciousness can understand. But the divine consciousness that's within us already knows the way. So let's bring this into prayer, shall we? So as I hold a special space of silence for those that have been in this moment that we know that's called tornadoes, weather anomalies, I just know that there is safety. Because back of all things, there is a divine, infinite love, infinite thing, infinite guidance, infinite joy, infinite security, infinite safety, infinite bliss. That which we call spirit, the love, beauty of the universe, or simply by the word God. it manifests out of itself the miracle in this now moment and in every moment. And as I know that that which has our back, that which has the everlasting beauty of the essence of now, the essence of love, that is what is within me and as me, and even in my words at this now moment. And that's the same truth for this spiritual community, for all that are sitting here before me, as well as all that are listening online, one with the true nature of the divine. And so with that, I know that we are guided by beauty, we are uplifted with a divine nature, we are surrounded by love. And in gratitude, I surrender into this now moment. And so it is.